So this second session of the conference is dealing with questions around modernism itself. And I am absolutely delighted to introduce to you Isaac Julian, who I know, in many ways, Isaac doesn't need an introduction because I'm sure everybody here knows the wealth of work that Isaac has done as an artist and as a cultural activist really as well over the last 30 years. I don't know how many of you know that Isaac is an alumni of University of the Arts London when he studied at Central St Martin's, and I think I must have met Isaac soon after he graduated. Been involved on many levels around the discourses, some of the discourses that Kabina kind of talked about last night in terms of kind of critical practice and where the black subjectivities sit within that. Of course, we also know of Isaac in terms of his artwork first as a filmmaker as part of Sankofa, and then as an independent artist. And I can't remember what year it was that you were a Turner Prize nominee. The work can be seen all over the world. I mean, I could stand here for a good hour talking about Isaac, his achievements, and the kind of impact that he's made on the visual field that we know today, and how instrumental he's been in kind of shifting a lot of the debates. So what we're going to have at this session is Isaac is going to introduce Looking for Langston, his film of 1989, of which many people who were also, we would also kind of think about in terms of these next few days. He involved them in the making of that film. Some people will be able to recognise certain figures. Isaac will talk about the film for 10 minutes, and then we're going to see the film. And then after that, the second part of this session will be chaired and led by Sandy Nairn, who will introduce the two other speakers for this part of the session. So thank you for coming back, and Isaac, I'd love to invite you to come and speak. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say what a great pleasure it is to be able to participate in this conference, and also to say that, in a sense, this is very timely, I think. I want to join the dots up because this morning, just to share with you, I participated in a panel with Courtney, who's going to be speaking later on her new book that she's edited called 4 Generations. And this is a book which is looking at really the history of sort of African-American modernism in the arts. And it's specifically a book about the collection of two people known to me as Pam and Fred, and various interviews with curators and artists, and it's, you can see it's going to become the Bible, I think, in terms of thinking about these questions which we're basically exploring today. And I should also say that, had this book been produced when I was a student at St Martin's School of Art, in the early 80s, then I probably wouldn't be speaking to you here now, because, this kind of work, along with, the amazing work that Colin Mercer has done, I'm thinking here particularly of the chapters, the 4 books, volume series, Discrepant Modernisms, is that the right title? Where basically this question haunts, as it were, the spectre of our present concerns. You're going to see Looking for Langston in a minute, but I should just say this film could be retitled Looking for Modernism, because when I was making this work, I was essentially trying to trace what was a kind of absence in my own kind of in my own history, or what I saw as a connection to really finding those different voices which seem to be kind of excluded from the canon of art history. And when I was a student at St Martin's School of Art, we didn't have books like this. We didn't have discrepant modernisms. We had to basically make those, if you like. And so, in a way, Looking for Langston is a film which is essentially begins with the archive, and I want to focus on an image which I spoke about this morning, which is an image which I found because ostensibly the film was looking at archives, and then the film's kind of iconography was to replicate that in terms of the style of the work. The archive of the present and the past kind of merges. And I think one of the things which was really extraordinary to me was coming across this archive footage, and it was an archive footage which was made just after the Depression of it was like an uplift the race kind of footage. And I came across this black and white footage of artists making sculptures, making sort of paintings. And indeed, there was this one painting which I saw, which was an artist, I don't know what his name was, but it was an abstract work. I think it's very telling that, this collection is called a collection of abstract art of African American artists. And the kind of in the sequence, Hall recites Chaucer, but he also talks about, and this is a kind of narration which is a mixture of many, many things which I'm reading at the time. But it talks about that white patrons of the Harlem Renaissance wanted their artists to know and feel the intuitions of the primitive. They didn't want modernism. They wanted black art to keep art and artists in their place. And so, this is like 1987, 1988. These are conversations with lots of different people, conversations with curators from America, conversations with lots of artists who are living in New York, conversations with people here in London, with intellectuals. It's a conversation which is really about, Paul Gilroy termed it the Black Atlantic, but it's a diasporian conversation, and it's a conversation which is being interpolated in many different ways. It's not just about British modernism or the relationship to Black British artists and modernism. We're not just looking at, we're looking at the world, and we want the world to interpolate our practices. And in this sense, and I was specifically looking to African American cultures, and because I knew there, although I didn't know the names of the artists, I knew there was this canon somewhere, and I was searching for it, and weaving that together in this work by looking at artists and poets from another time, from the 20s, from the 30s, and in a way using Hughes as a kind of alibi, and using the question of his sexual identity and the ambiguous nature of his sexual identity as a kind of way of trying to search for modernism in the way in which it could be articulated in these Black diasporic Atlantic cultures, and to fuse those together by really looking at the question of gay desire. How does one picture that? How does one give pictures to silences, to absences? So there's a lot of that in this work, and it's essentially kind of trying to do that by uniting that within another framework of modernism, which is really the framework of black and white photography. So I'm looking at the photographs of I'm looking at the photographs of Roy DeCarver. I go to meet people like his wife, Sherry DeCarver, and get some of his photographs. Also looking at James Van Der Zee and his archive, and I'm reconstructing that as a kind of look for the film. And so this search for modernism isn't just an informational one, isn't just a one just about queer desire, it's also about the iconography, it's about the look, and it's about photography, it's about the history and the place of photography, but it's also about the history of the visual arts, and the other footage which comes across in the film, in the archival sequences in the film, is this huge mural that's been painted. And the quote that we chose to against that image is "History with the smiler, with the knife, it's Chaucer." And it's basically this question of this suspicion of modernism and the way in which it evades, certain histories. And then it's also this kind of positioning, because it always was just a positioning. I think, it's important to think about the conference and showing this work in the light of, the current political climate that we inhabit, where we have, the Prime Minister of this country who basically, talks about jobs for British people, a certain climate which is incredibly parochial and very inward-looking. And so therefore, I just want to say that I think, if we're going to be thinking about these questions, the idea of it as a concentration on Black British modernism, to my mind, could be a red herring. So I throw that gauntlet out, and I hope you enjoyed the film. Thank you.